Now my wheels in motion and my windows open with the wind blowing in my hair. I'm driving down the highway, gonna do this my way. I can feel it in the air. Here I
go! It is time for another adventure. We're on the road again. Technically, we're in a Glasgow City Centre hotel at the moment, but tomorrow we will be on the road again. We are heading north. We are going up with Caledonian Travel on a 5-day coach trip along the North Coast 500. I am so excited. This is something I have wanted to do for a very long time. I cannot wait to see some of the incredible scenery up north on this iconic road trip. Our bus is going to leave from 8 AM at Buchanan bus station tomorrow. Now we are fairly local, it's not that far from where we live to here in Glasgow City Centre, but just to make things a little bit easier for us, whenever we are doing a coach trip from Buchanan Street, we often book in to this very hotel, which is just a few steps from the station. It means we can sleep a little longer in the morning, we can get a lovely included breakfast in the morning, key thing, and then we can just wander over to the bus station and pick up the coach from there. So this is the Holiday Inn Express Hotel here in Glasgow City Centre. It is literally just across the road from the bus station. It is a great location. If you are staying here in Glasgow, if you're doing a couple of nights here in the city, it's a great location. It's steps from everything from the station, cinema. It won't be too far to any of the concert venues here, and loads of shopping and dining experiences nearby. So I'll give you a little look around the room first of all. Like I say, we've stayed in this hotel a good few times now. This is a fairly decent representation of pretty much all the rooms that we've stayed in here at the Holiday Inn Express. And if you've stayed in any of this brand's Express hotels before, you'll know that this is pretty much the same kind of setup in all of them. You've got all your usual standard stuff, your big TV, tea and coffee making facilities. There's some storage space for hanging your clothes. There's a fan in the room. Lots of little nooks and crannies to put your stuff away in. This is going to be the first of 3 hotels that we're going to be staying in on this trip. With any coach trip, we are in the hands of our tour operator to choose the hotels that we're going to be staying in. We have a rough idea of where we might be going on this one, but as with all coach trips, unexpected things can happen, so I'll wait to tell you more about the hotels that we're staying in on the North Coast 500 when we get on the road tomorrow. We are just going to settle in here for the night. In fact, we're not. We're going to go across the road and see the new ballerina movie, and then we'll grab some food and come back before settling in for the night. And then it'll be an early start tomorrow and we will get on the road. So that's enough waffling from me. Let's fast forward to day 1 of the North Coast 500. It was a great start to the day as we set off from Buchanan bus station and headed off to pick up the rest of our group. We weren't really sure what to expect from this trip. The NC 500 is one of the most iconic road trips in Scotland. The route itself is a scenic 516-mile trip around the north coast of Scotland, starting and ending in Inverness. We'd booked the NC 500 Spectacular with Caledonian Travel, which would take us to some of the most famous stops on the route without necessarily covering everything there is to see. We thought this would give us a chance to see some of the NC 500, so we could decide if we wanted to come back and do it on our own one day. Our first day would be mostly travel, as we had to pick people up in Hamilton, Edinburgh and Dunfermline, so it was the same old motorways that we're used to for a good few hours before we finally came across one of my favourite sites in Scotland, the Forth Bridges, and we had our first amazing view of the trip. In for our first proper stop at the Taste of Perthshire, which so far is my favourite rest stop of all time because this one has Highland cows. I do have to say, Philip, our driver, did not let us down with this stop. As a connoisseur of motorway services, I do have to admit that the vibe here is impeccable. It's got Highland cows, lovely seating areas, some great shops for browsing and fresh fruit from the farm shop. 10 out of 10 Philip, no notes. We've arrived at our first stop on the NC500, our second hotel for this trip. We are here in Gairloch. Now, this is a small village in the northwest Highlands. We boarded our coach about 8 AM this morning and we've arrived here at 4 PM, so roughly about an 8-hour journey. Now, that does include stops. We did stop for an hour or so at the Taste of Perthshire, and then we've had another couple of quick stops along the way. Let's take a peek around the room. This is going to be our home base for the next 2 nights. We have a lovely room right here at the front of the hotel. Let's check out the views. Oh my goodness. Now, apparently on a clear day, we can see across the sky from here. As you can see, today is not a clear day. It has been pretty much torrential rain since we came up into the Highlands, but again you can still see the absolutely amazing views. And tomorrow morning should hopefully be a clear morning at least, so we might get some of those sky views. So we've just got finished with dinner and we've come out for a little walk, just a wee short walk to take advantage of the break in the weather, because as you can see, unlike earlier when it was torrential rain, we have almost clear skies at the moment, which means we can now see all the way across the sky. If you look all the way to the edge of the horizon, and you can just see it emerging out of the clouds. Now is the Isle of Skye. And we just have some clearer, nicer views of this lovely, picturesque little village. Just above the foliage there, you can see the top of our hotel peeking up. We are also having our first encounters with a infamous Scottish beastie, the mighty midgie. They are out in force this evening. Since we were out on a short post-dinner walk, we've come back down to this little area that we saw earlier, just to have a closer look. And you can see this rock garden here, 56 million years old. This one has it beat. I've definitely woken up to worse views than this. What a glorious day. It is quite windy, it's a little bit cold, which is my favourite kind of Scottish day. But you can see it's a much clearer day today. We can see all the way across the sky, we can see much more of the outline of sky. Absolutely gorgeous. Later on today we're going to do a little bit of exploring of Gairloch itself, but this morning we are going somewhere very, very special. Very special for 2 reasons. First and foremost, I didn't know that this was going to be on the itinerary. And second, this is a place I've wanted to see for a very long time. We'll tell you more about it when we get there, but let's go and get on the bus. We set off early from Gairloch for a 65-mile drive across Wester Ross, headed towards the Kyle of Lochalsh. The journey took us around an hour and a half, and the views outside the window made it really easy to sit back, relax and just let our minds wander. The landscape was constantly changing from rolling hills and mountains to lochs and glens and sandy beaches, and it felt like if you blinked you might miss something. Times for some photos along the way before we arrived at what surely has to be one of the most recognisable sites in Scotland. Welcome to Island Donnan. This 13th century castle sits on its own island at the point where three sea lochs meet, and it's one of the most popular attractions in the Highlands. The castle has been a popular filming location, appearing in films like Highlander and Maid of Honour, as well as reportedly being one of the inspirations for Dunrobin in Disney Pixar's Brave. That stop in Island Donnan was incredible. It was just a 10-15 minute photo stop, but it wasn't on our original itinerary, so I was really surprised and absolutely thrilled to get to see that. We've now just been dropped off for around 40 minutes or so in Loch Carron, where we are sitting here on the beach having some lunch.
We've been to Dunbroch.
Exactly. Been to Dunbroch. And now look at this view we have for our lunch. We've been dropped back off at the hotel, and of course, steps from the hotel. This gorgeous beach, and the tide is out, which means we can go for a walk along the sandy shoreline. We're on the shores of Gairloch, which is a sea loch, which means just beyond the horizon, past Skye. This body of water goes all the way out to the Atlantic Ocean. It's our second full day on the NC 500. We are about to leave Gairloch behind. We are going to head north. Our driver Philip has already filled us in on the plan for the day. We are going to drive about an hour and a half to 2 hours north. We are going to take a stop at Ullapool and get to have a wander around the village there. Then we are going to drive further north, stop at Smoo Cave, which I am super excited about. And then finally make our way all the way up to Thurso, which is going to be our base for the next 2 nights. So I'm just out here enjoying this gorgeous sea loch view for the last time before we get on board the bus for our drive north. we've arrived in Ullapool. We are on a lovely rocky little beach here on the shore of Loch. Ullapool is also the main ferry terminal for sailings across to Stornoway. Okay, we have some gossip. Tonight, when we arrive in Thurso, we are staying in the Royal Thurso Hotel. Now, this has been the subject of some drama and speculation, both prior to this trip from us and, in fact, on the coach. We know this hotel by reputation, and it is not a good reputation. From everything that I've read online, from the way that even the driver described it, while trying to be nice, I'm expecting potentially one of the worst hotels that we have ever stayed in. It does not review well. We have read some true horror stories when I tell you that I have packed cleaning wipes to bring with us on this trip, just in case. So we will let you know what it's like when we arrive there this evening, but I don't think anyone in the coach has high hopes for our accommodation for the next 2 nights, but if nothing else, it will be an experience. So we will share that with you when we get there. But for now, we are going to go wander around at this very pretty town. We're going to look around at some of the shops, grab some coffee and see what we see. After seemingly endless mountains and lochs, we arrived in Durness for a visit to Smoo Cave. As it was such a long day, our driver had recommended bringing a packed lunch to eat here at the cave. Before lunch though, we had time to explore the cave itself. Smoo Cave is a sea cave set into limestone cliffs near the town of Durness. It has the largest sea cave entrance in Britain and was formed by both freshwater and seawater. Entrance to the cave is free of charge if you just want to walk around and explore a bit, or you can take a guided boat tour for a more immersive experience. This was definitely one of the highlights of the trip, and I highly recommend a visit if you're doing the NC 500. Just be aware though, if, like me, you have short legs, those stairs both down to and up from the cave are tough going, and you're definitely going to feel the burn. Okay, first of all, we need to fill you in. We obviously have made the long journey. It was about 3.5 hours from Smoo Cave up to here in Thurso. We have arrived here at the Royal Thurso Hotel. So, before I tell you about the hotel and show you the room a little, let's talk a little bit. I'll keep my voice down in case the other bus people can hear us. But rumours had started to spread. You could tell from the questions that people were asking the driver. You could tell from the general chatter that rumours were spreading about the quality of the hotel. Lots of people quite anxious about the hotel, and there's lots of running jokes, even things like the driver pointing out all the different eating places in Thurso, despite the fact that dinner is included. As I said in the previous video, we didn't arrive here with the highest expectations. The hotel is right on the main street in Thurso, so there was a little bit of chaos when we got off the bus when the driver had to unload all the cases. But I will say this, there were staff outside meeting the coach, there were people bringing the cases in for us, there's been people directing us to the rooms as we walked in. First impressions as we walked in the hotel, and I'll try and sneak some footage later on when we go down, but it's wild down there just now because coach parties are arriving. I'll try and sneak some footage, but first impressions walking in the door, now maybe it was the low expectations, but first impressions walking in the door weren't that bad for me. When I've come in, it seems clean, it seems tidy, the staff are all welcoming and friendly, so right away perhaps not the American Horror Story hotel impression that some of the reviews had given me. Now coming up to this part of the hotel, what I noticed straight away was that the doors look relatively freshly painted. I have heard that a lot of these rooms are in the process of being refurbished. The whole hotel is undergoing a bit of a long refurbishment at the moment, so I was fairly hopeful that was a good sign that we might have a relatively refurbished room. And this is our room, complete with a half-dead Ross. I don't think all the rooms have one of those, just this one. But we've got a nice twin room here up here in very much what feels like the attic space here at the Royal Thurso Hotel. The gentleman who directed us to our room did comment on it being a little bit of a navigation exercise, but hopefully you can see as I'm walking around, it's a massive room. Like, we could hold a party in here after dinner. So it is a massive room. We've got a view out onto Main Street Thurso. Now, obviously not like a 5-star hotel, not the most glamorous hotel, and I can see based on other drama that there's been on the bus, and that's all we'll say, that a lot of people will be relatively unhappy, but I have to say I'm pleasantly surprised. There is nothing that I've spotted so far that would either A, cause me to bring out my cleaning wipes that I brought with me, or B, give me any pause about sleeping here tonight. So all in all, I'm pretty happy. Now, in the interest of fairness, I will also show you the bathroom. It's not large. However, I mean, it's not large, and obviously it's relatively outdated, but I mean, it's clean. Shower looks like it could be an adventure. Ross, what are your first impressions of the Royal Thurso Hotel?
I like this bed.
It was a lot of stairs up, and I think at that point, without presuming to speak for Ross, I am going to assume that at some point on that trip up the stairs he was regretting the decision to use one combined suitcase instead of 2 smaller suitcases. But since I was not the one carrying them, I care a little bit less about that. Okay. Dinner at the hotel tonight was drama filled. I'll tell you about that later. And it meant it took 1 hour and 40 minutes for dinner, which I'm so happy about, because we are now down here at Thurso Beach and it is spectacular. You can see behind me where the sun is setting. The beach is beautiful. Waves are lapping, there's someone out on a paddleboard. Thurso is the most northerly town in Scotland. Checking for road safety there. Thurso is the most northerly town in Scotland, in mainland Scotland, yep. And although we will be going further north tomorrow to John O'Groats, this is the most northerly actual town in mainland Scotland. And it's a beautiful town just to walk around in. The scenery down here at the beach is just magnificent. And I don't know if it is that golden hour glow, but it's just breathtaking at this time of day. So if anything, I'm glad about our drama-filled dinner, because it's meant we've come down here at exactly this time and just beautiful. If you look all the way across the water, just to the edge of the horizon, you should be able to see a shadow of land just on the other side. All the way over there is Orkney. Today is the one that I've been looking forward to the most. We are headed even further north and we are going up to John O'Groats today. I believe, I haven't heard the full itinerary for today, I believe in the afternoon we're also going to Dunrobin Castle, but we'll wait and see what the driver says when we get on the bus. Okay, a quick recap and update on the drama from last night. So last night's dinner service, it did take about an hour and a half to an hour and 40 minutes. So it was a very, very slow service. Can't fault the staff, they were run off their feet, there were lots of coach parties and it was very, very busy. So nothing to do with the staff who were serving in the dining hall last night. As with the previous hotel at the Gairloch Hotel, it was a fixed menu. You had a choice of from 3 different starters, 3 different mains, 3 different desserts. And I will say all the food that I had was really good. I really enjoyed everything that I had to eat. It was obviously very slow service, but everything that came out for me was absolutely spot on. I had no issues with my food. I will say other people at the table with us, and we could tell people around the dining hall had ordered some kind of liver patty, and it did look still to be partially frozen, so this set off a near riot in the dining hall last night. People were complaining to the wait staff, people were saying it was the worst hotel they'd ever stayed in, all of which I thought was a bit over the top, if I'm being honest. The hotel is fine, it's nowhere near as bad as we were led to believe in some of the reviews. Obviously that's a very subjective subject. We've had no issues with either the food, any of the staff, or indeed the room, anything like that. Some people were very, very vocal about their displeasure last night. Public service announcement, guys. If you're having a bad time at a hotel, by all means ask to speak to a manager, but don't be rude to wait staff. It's just not classy. It's not a good look for anybody. So we've gone down to breakfast this morning. Breakfast wasn't a great experience. Again, I wasn't probably expecting too much from breakfast this morning, but it was a little bit disorganised. They were, as opposed to the buffet in the previous hotel, they were doing table service, but they had run out of bacon at this point, and that was causing all kinds of drama for people. It was very disorganised. I don't think the toast station was in the best condition it could be. So we have heard a lot of conversations at the table. I think our driver's going to hear quite a lot on the bus this morning, so it's going to be dramatic. But I will say this, I'm going to put a review on the website as well, just to give a little bit of balance, because the reviews that are being put on, both by previous people who've stayed here and people that are in our own coach party, are absolutely horrific, and I don't think that's as balanced a view as you could potentially have. It is an old hotel, it does show signs of wear and tear, but you can tell they are trying to upgrade everything. So I think for what you've got here in Thurso, I think it's absolutely fine. On the plus side, we did wander round the corner, because the one thing I will say is they didn't have a great selection or a great coffee set up this morning, and I had to have some caffeine. We did find an amazing coffee shop just round the corner. It was gorgeous. It looks like they've got a good breakfast menu, so if we're still here at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, I'm going there for breakfast. But we're going to head downstairs, get on the bus and go see what we see this morning. Where it is very windy. can't hear me over the wind, but we may have a landmark moment as well as actual landmarks here on 4,000 Miles to Magic. We may actually, for the first time, be as close to 4,000 miles to Orlando as we have ever actually been. It's a hallmark moment here. After some exploring, we left behind John O'Groats and made our way back onto the road, where unfortunately most of the best scenery was on this occasion on the other side of the coach. But it wasn't long until we arrived at what would be our final stop on our tour of the North Coast 500. Dunrobin Castle is a stately home overlooking the Moray Firth and is the family seat of the Earl of Sutherland. Our tour included tickets to the castle and the chance to explore the many rooms inside, which was like stepping inside a period drama. I seriously could have spent the entire day exploring these rooms inside the castle. Inside you'll also find the tea rooms where we grab some baked treats and refreshments before heading outside. Outside, the grounds and gardens are simply breathtaking, and although I've said it before in this video, I need to say it again, the camera really does not do it justice. With the sun shining and most people getting ready to watch the falconry display, we tried our hand at some lawn games before reluctantly making our way back up towards the bus for the long trip back to Thurso. If you're visiting the Highlands, Dunrobin Castle needs to be at the top of your to-do list. It was an early start this morning as we loaded everything and everyone back onto the bus for the long journey south. The return journey took us down the east coast through some villages and past the lochs and mountains that we'd come to expect at this point. As this was basically a travel day with a couple of comfort stops at Dingwall and then again at Taste Perthshire, this was a chance to sit back, listen to some music and reflect on the last few days. We had the most amazing time on this trip, but if there's one thing I took away from this experience is that 5 days is nowhere near enough time. We're already making plans for a return trip by car so we can go at a slower pace and really soak in the views. That said, if you don't have access to transport, if you're short in time, this short trip with Caledonian Travel is a great way to get a taste of the North Coast 500 while someone else does all the driving. I really hope you've enjoyed coming along this journey with us. If you have any questions or if you've done the NC 500 and you have any tips for the next time, let us know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching and we'll see you on the next one.